I found and stopped my workplace's phantom crapper, who would sneak into our department and leave our toilet in an ungodly condition, but now HR says they smell trouble with me. Posted by you/toilet confession. I work in a hospital in an administrative quarter. It's in the middle of nowhere in the hospital, meaning not a lot of foot traffic from staff or patients. As a result, there is a single toilet on our corridor to serve our 5 offices. The door to the toilet is opposite my office door. We all go on break and lunch together 90% of the time, leaving the corridor empty for 30 to 50 minutes. We started noticing, every now and then, that someone was using the toilet while we were out. In itself, this wasn't a problem, but the smell and occasional mess, it wasn't always fully flushed or was blocked, were awful. There are no windows, so there's no way to dissipate the smell, and air freshener was irritating. Over the last few months, it's been happening more and more regularly. It can occur 3 times a week or even twice in one day sometimes. We have no idea who is doing it, and there's no pattern to it. Also, no one really wants to confront the culprit if we did see them, so we were just living with it, gross as it is. 2 weeks ago, all but one of us went on break, and a patient wandered into the corridor, acting strangely and blocking the colleague in her office. She was pretty shaken up, but, thankfully, we have panic buttons in our offices. Afterward, I submitted a request for a lock on the corridor, one of those key code ones with a bell. It's mildly annoying, but we get very little traffic outside of mail and a few doctors, so it's not like we constantly have to let people in. It was installed on Wednesday last week, and on Friday, I received an email from one of the medical secretaries, who works on a different floor, asking for the code to our corridor. I responded, asking why she needed it. Immediately, my phone rang. She explained that she has bowel issues and takes laxatives, and the toilet on our corridor is one of the only single cubicle toilets in the hospital that offers the most privacy, so she'd be stuck without it. Where I might be the jerk, I told her I was sorry, but I didn't think we would be giving the code to any non-essential staff, and I hung up. The office is a bit divided. Most are glad we won't have to deal with the smell she leaves behind, but one colleague thinks we're being needlessly cruel and argues that the lock wasn't put in place to gatekeep a toilet, and another is flip-flopping. I do feel bad for her, but she was making our work environment seriously unpleasant on a regular basis. Was I wrong here? Edit. It is hospital policy that areas where patient data are held are restricted to necessary staff access only. For example, I do not have access to any of the wards, but I can access day surgery because it's relevant to my job. Her job in no way gives her a reason to be on our corridor, so from a data security point of view, it doesn't matter that we are both employees. Edit. I had an email from HR yesterday and a brief call with them today. They mentioned a report of bullying but were vague on the details. After the call, she was so upset that she had to go home early. It sounds like her manager may have pushed for the complaint to be made. I didn't bring up the toilet or the request for the code during my conversation with HR. I just explained that I had received an email and a brief call on Friday from someone in that department, but to my knowledge, that was the extent of our interactions. They didn't ask about the contents of the call, and I didn't offer any additional information. I'm going to speak to my union rep just in case this gets escalated, but I'm hoping she won't want to pursue it and we can all just move on. Update 12 days later. So a few things happened, and I thought I'd update. I had an HR meeting scheduled for Wednesday last week, but they canceled the day before, saying the issue had been resolved. I still wanted a meeting, but things were hectic, so we rescheduled for Tuesday this week. I was working from home for the next 2 days, Thursday and Friday last week, because my youngest was ill. I got a text on Friday mid-morning from the office saying they thought someone had been in and used the toilet while they were on break. On Monday, one of the girls had a meeting with her kid's school and decided to work through her break and leave early. About 5 minutes after everyone left, she heard the door open and saw someone she didn't know. As per policy, she challenged her, asking who she was, to see her ID, and why she was there. The woman said she was the medical secretary, Val from here on, and that she had permission to use the bathroom on our corridor. When I got back from break, I emailed HR along the lines of, regarding the situation with Val, I have been made aware that she has been granted access to our department in order to use the bathroom. I would have appreciated being informed of this decision, as we leave our personal belongings in the office under the understanding that it is a secure area with access only for those who need to be there. I would also like to know why I wasn't consulted on this decision as the manager of the department, as I've previously had to sign off on security access for other staff members. I would be grateful if you could add these points to tomorrow's meeting agenda. Well, to say the situation exploded after sending that email would be an understatement. I was immediately called and asked what this was about and why Val would need to use our bathroom. At this point, I forwarded my previous email correspondence, along with a summary of our phone conversation. HR said they would get back to me. It turns out that her friend's husband works in the hospital, and they both told her about our toilet and subsequently gave her the code after I declined to give it to her. They didn't say who he is but implied they were taking the issue seriously. That solves the mystery of how she found the toilet in the first place. She no longer has access to our bathroom, the code has been reset, and we received a site-wide email reminding everyone of the importance of security, not giving out access codes, and confronting people who appear to be in an inappropriate location or going to areas they have no business in. The gossip mill is in full force around the hospital, but I'm trying to stay out of it as much as possible. I'm just glad we won't have to deal with it anymore. Hopefully, that's the end of it. It's practically impossible to fire people in the National Health Service, so I doubt there will be serious consequences. Second update 3 weeks later. So the saga should hopefully be over. I had a request for a meeting with HR a few weeks after the initial incident. The secretary, Val, had gotten a doctor's letter and was asking for access to our department bathroom, and they asked if I had any objections. I had kind of been expecting this, so I countered by saying I didn't have objections but reservations. 1. Our department is very far from Val's office. 2. The lack of ventilation or windows makes it a very unpleasant environment for us to work in. And 3. Most importantly, if she were to gain access, she would be expected to leave it in the condition she found it. So, we didn't feel it was appropriate for someone to have unlimited access to the department just to use our toilet. HR pressed on point 3, and I explained the history of Val leaving the toilet in a mess. I also pointed out that there are several clinic sluices, which require a key to access, much closer to her office, and suggested that one of those might be more suitable. I went on a bit of a recon mission shortly after all this started. Anyway, HR agreed, and Val now has a key to the toilet in outpatients, under the provision that she keeps it clean, so she basically has her own private bathroom. The porter who told Val about our toilet and gave her the code apologized to us in person. It turns out she's actually his sister-in-law, so my original intel was wrong. He claimed she was embarrassed to ask for an accommodation and that he was pressured by his wife to give Val the door code when I refused. He realizes it was wrong, and we agreed not to hold it against him. So all in all, a pretty boring conclusion, but I'm glad it's over.